Hi, this is Jordan Tome for week 4 of English 200. So, the film I chose is Johnny Tsunami. It's an older movie, but the plot works well with this week's prompt. So, this movie takes place in Hawaii. So, Johnny is a kid in high school in Hawaii, but he has to move to the mainland because his dad got a better job. And so, Johnny is a kid who surfs every day and because his grandpa was a legendary surfer in Hawaii. So his goal was to always become a pro surfer just like his grandpa. Um, Johnny's dad didn't like the fact that his dream was to become a pro surfer because the dad wanted him to have a real job so he could support himself. And although pro surfing is a good job and could have brought in a lot of money, it's not always a guarantee that you make it and succeed in the sport. So Johnny's dad thought it was better for them to move to where he would have a better opportunity to get a better job or to have the education to get a better job in the future. Plus his dad had a better job and they would be bringing in better money. So they moved to Vermont and so Johnny went to a private school and he found out about snowboarding and skiing. But unfortunately for him, the mountain was split between the private schools, which was for skiing, and the other side was for public school kids who would snowboard. And the thing is that the side for skiing had the better slopes, mainly because they're private school kids, and I don't know, that's just how the movie was. But Johnny didn't understand why the two sides were split up because they should be shared. I mean, growing up in Hawaii, that's just how we're taught. Like we share and treat everyone equally. But in Vermont, it was a lot different. People were different, and the people weren't open to sharing the slopes, and everyone was always for themselves and not as a whole group, really. So the main problem with Johnny in this movie was that he had to leave Hawaii, and he just had a bad attitude about it because his dad forced him to. Johnny was upset at his dad and wanted nothing to do with him. So as the movie goes on, I mean, he's been snowboarding, and then just one day the dad just upsets Johnny in a way that he doesn't want anything to do with him. So Johnny decides to hop on a plane with his friend and to fly back to Hawaii. Um, yeah, I mean, the friend wanted to know what living in Hawaii was like, and I think Johnny just needed to recuperate and reevaluate his life. So they ended up meeting up with the grandpa for a couple days, and they just surfed, enjoyed life, and just basically did what most kids in Hawaii do. I mean, go beach, especially because his grandpa was a surfer and he wanted to surf. So yeah, they just cruised and hung out a lot. But and then eventually, Johnny talked to his grandpa and realized that Johnny's dad thought he knew what was best for Johnny, but that's just how parents are. It's not always in the best interest of the kid, but the parents think that they know what's right and they try to do what's best based on what they believe in. And Johnny just thought his dad was trying to ruin his life, but he realized that his dad wanted him to be more than a surfer and wanted him to have a good life. So that's why he wanted him to go to this new private school and just try to succeed so he can get a good job in the future. Um, so during the stages of this, or the stages that Johnny went throughout this film, so he was the happy kid in Hawaii, and then when he had to move, he became the stuck-up kid in Vermont, or at least with his parents. And then when he went back to Hawaii, he became a rejuvenated teen. And when he went back up to Vermont, he became a happy Vermont kid. Because, I mean, him and his dad got along and saw eye to eye with each other. I mean, I just think that these stages are just how life goes. You know, like they start out good, and something sets you back, but then you can learn from it and find out the best way to cope with the problem and end up happy. For the second question, growing up with one parent or no parents at all, it's very tough. The child doesn't develop the same way as a person with both parents because they don't get the same support. But ultimately, there are many life lessons that parents will teach over the years, and without parents or with one parent, you don't get that full effect. And I think it's very hard mentally for the child because, I mean, to grow up with one or no parents, I mean, you basically have to learn everything on your own and have to develop fast because you have to support yourself and you have to learn to live alone or live with other people. And I think that's just the hardest part about growing up with one parent or no parents at all. Comparing Ragged Dick to Johnny Tsunami, I think the ideas are very different. Johnny Tsunami started with a lot more than Dick did, and didn't have to work as hard to figure out right from wrong. Um, Johnny had a good upbringing, and I guess so did Dick. I mean, he has good character and he has a good belief in what he does, and Dick is smart and behaved, and so is Johnny. But the two grew up very differently, and I mean, they both work hard, are respectful. Johnny had a little problems with respect at one point in the film, but he eventually learned that it wasn't worth it to fight with his dad and realized that it was just best to reevaluate the situation and realize that his dad was doing best for what realized his dad thought he knew what was best, but Johnny just had to go with it. And so yeah, that's it. Thanks.